I'm here with Mark Nelson, and today we've been talking about crystals. And you may not realize it, but metal has crystals in the molecular structure. And Mark,
Exactly.
you're going to tell us about that.
Exactly. It's
All
really
right.
great because the metal is made up of crystals, and they have grain boundaries. Okay. And let's say if you want to make a bracelet, and you start off with a piece of sheet metal, it's going to be very stiff. Okay. And so you won't be able to form it much.
Right, so you need to soften it up and break those boundaries between the crystals in the structure.
Exactly. And what we're going to do is actually anneal it, is called the process. Okay. And if I can show you on the chart here, when you start off with a piece of soft metal, the crystals are large, okay, with few grain boundaries, okay. But when you hit it with a hammer and you work harden it, those get crushed and smaller.
And we talk about work hardening a lot, but I think we probably don't spend as much time talking about annealing. So it's good to know both ends of the spectrum.
You should know both ends of the spectrum, because if you want to do more working with the metal, you have to soften it and keep on going.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you how to do that.
All right.
What I have here is a piece of bracelet blank, and I need to coat it with a barrier flux to keep it from oxidizing. Okay, so this is a flux that's going to protect the metal from getting black. And you just cover the whole thing, front and back. And you can do this with copper, brass, nickel.
And you could use any width of sheet, right? Depending on what you want your bracelet to look like.
Sure. And I'm going to put safety glasses on because I'm going to light my torch here.
All right, safety first.
Now the key thing is that we need to heat this metal for a brief amount of time at 1100 degrees.
And that's going to anneal it.
That'll make it the crystals grow and get softer.
Okay.
So one of the ways I'm going to judge the temperature is use a different flux, just a blob here. And that will, when this gets clear, it'll tell me that it's the right temperature.
So that's kind of like your oven thermometer.
Exactly. The other way we have to tell is if it gets dull red in color.
The metal?
Yeah, when it gets a dull red. But the problem with that is, you know, when you're working in your studio, you might have a lot of light.
Oh, so the color may not be totally apparent.
Exactly. So a dull red might actually be 1300 degrees, which is going to be too much.
And what is your work surface there? It looks like you're working on a block.
Working on a block is a heat reflective block, okay? And it's not absorbing any kind of heat, so the heat goes right back into the metal. And as you can see, that flux is starting to turn clear, right? So once it turns clear, you want to hold that temperature for a little bit, you know, maybe 30 seconds, almost a minute, giving those crystals time to grow, okay?
Now, is that flux going to disappear then?
You betcha. What you want to do is go ahead and, before it cools too much, quench it in water. Now this is going to make a little sound.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And you can see all the flux and oxidation on there. And what we'll do is we'll put this in the pickle.
Oh, okay.
And this is our
take
mild,
care of it.
yeah, this is our mild acid solution. And if they don't fit, you do like half and then turn it over, like your turkey. Okay. And then, so we'll let that sit and let that pickle clean all that stuff off. Okay.
Okay.
Now what we're going to do is we'll come back to a piece that's here that's been softened and annealed. Now go ahead and start bending that.
Okay. Oh, wow, so you can bend it with your hands.
Exactly.
Now, it would be this soft until you harden it, right?
Until we start mashing those crystals.
Because you've changed it at the base of its structure.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm going to get my bracelet mandrel out, and can you hand me that dead blow hammer over there?
Yes. That has nylon ends.
That's right, and it's got sand in there.
Oh.
So it makes it really nice. And nice thing about annealing is you can actually start doing this by just wrapping it with your fingers.
So you're using some muscle there?
Not hardly.
Not really?
Yeah, it's very soft. Now, depending on your metal, you know, if this was brass or nickel, it would be much harder to do.
Now, could you soften it too much?
Not really. I mean, because it's only going to go to a certain amount of softness before it melts.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So there's kind of a set limit there.
So then you just use your hammer to refine the size.
Exactly. You're going to, I guess, zhuzh it. And
is that a technical term?
It is now.
Okay.
And you just keep forming it until you get to the bracelet that you want. And let's say you can start bending it by hand. Okay. And now this gets really hard. I can't move it anymore. You go back and repeat the process.
Oh, so you could actually soften, anneal it again.
You can do this hundreds of times.
Keep working it.
Hundreds of times. And that's how people just keep working it. And bracelets are odd because they have to be an oval. And so what you want to do is kind of use the side of the mandrel.
Keep working that shape.
Exactly. until it's just right for your wrist or your customer's wrist.
So is this something that you could do with a finished bracelet? If you had a finished bracelet that came out of shape or something, could you go back and sort of fix it?
Depends. You certainly could if there's no stones in there or anything that cannot take the heat.
Okay, so it would have to all be metal.
All be metal, straight metal. And then you can certainly go back and re-anneal it, reshape it, and because as you work hardening it, as you're working it, you're hardening it.
Right, so
And,
you would have to anneal it first. Now what about the edges?
The edges, you know, just like you're going to make a bracelet, you can file them, sand them, treat this however you want to, sand it. There's just the...
Okay. Well, let's take a look at your finished bracelets because you have some beautiful samples here. And these are all using that same basic forming technique.
Forming technique and annealing.
Annealing, okay. And this one is, of course, amazing.
Thank you.
Has your crystals on the front there, and it looks like you just used a couple of different techniques.
I had to do some different things, like make folds versus to accommodate the crystals.
Well, that is just a beautiful way to bring the crystals and the metal together.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. And thank you again for watching. Please join us next time as we explore lots of different elements and we'll feature texture. And don't forget to visit the website to let us know your ideas for future episodes. We'll see you soon.
Instructions for today's projects, plus more ideas, techniques, and projects can be found on the web at beadsbaublesandjewels.com. This is show 1409.